Welcome, everyone, to Dad's Turn to Talk. My name is Bob, and we have a very unique episode tonight. And before I get into that, I just want to let you all know, for new viewers that may be watching this for the first time, this is a show where we three dads get together and talk about the things that we want to talk about, unless our significant others tell us to talk about something else. So I want to go ahead and introduce my two co-hosts, two gentlemen that I respect majorly. And the first gentleman I'm going to introduce, I got to feel sorry for you, man. Last week, there was pain in those eyes. Absolute pain. Josh, how are you doing tonight? Are you feeling any better after a week?
No, because I watched The Acolyte last night. And it was probably the worst Star Wars episode I've ever seen. I even started to talk to somebody on your page, Bob, who claimed that I was a robot. Really? A robot? So I let him have it. Derek, you didn't even know about that.
No,
you know what's funny about that, Derek?
Or go ahead.
No, I was going to say what's funny about that is that guy turned around and just out of the blue left 6 comments.
No, not 6. I said 7.
No, he actually left 7 comments. And they weren't even like replies to anybody. They were just random stuff. I think he did reply under 1, but he left like 3 comments in a row under that. Not even like a comment and then got a reply and then a comment. It was just what made it funny is that he turned around and he was like, "Well, you need to get your life together." And I'm like, "Huh? You're the one leaving like 7 comments here."
You need
Whatever,
to get your life together.
But yeah, he called Josh a bot. So
Bobby, you don't know this. Derek and I always grade things. Over 25 years of friendship, we grade. Derek, we have a new grade from last night. Would you like to know what it is?
You lay it on me.
3 Fs. F, F, F.
Negative golden infinity is what you should be calling that.
Did I use that, Bob, a couple of weeks ago? Did I call it a negative golden? Maybe I did call it a negative golden infinity.
You did.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm ready for tonight. I'm excited actually for tonight.
yeah, it'll be nice because we'll actually be talking about something that's worthwhile.
Exactly.
So there's that other gentleman that I'm going to introduce. I got to give it to you, man. You have plowed through The Acolyte with us, so I got to turn around and give you credit for that. Derek, how are you doing?
When you watch The Acolyte and see the lightsabers, you will rinse with water and remain unclean until nightfall.
Did you watch last night, Derek?
No, I'm not watching that anymore.
I don't blame you, man. God.
Yeah. Well, okay, you said, like, I think we said last week, if it's like you're done, then you can be done.
To be honest, I don't think there's anything that can save that show.
No.
And I don't see it getting better. So
I
mean, there was a pretty cool lightsaber fight last night, but other than that, it was more lore breaking. So
yeah, we're really reaching for anything here now, folks. So
yeah.
That poor Lily is just going to have to keep plowing through this. So I feel
Yeah, I know. Oh gosh. So for those that are probably joining us, probably over from my other channel, because I know I've been advertising it over there. Tonight we are going to be doing something a little bit different. Not different in that we're not going to be talking about a show or pop culture, but on this channel we try to avoid politics and religion. But we do talk pop culture. Now, what happens when religion and pop culture meet? Well, we're going to talk about it. And what makes this a little unique is we're going to be talking about The Chosen. And for those that don't know what The Chosen is, this is a show that is primarily crowdfunded. In fact, they raised $10 million just to make the first season. But it's a primarily crowdfunded show about the life of Jesus Christ, but it's written through the perspective of those that knew him and walked with him. So it's got a unique perspective. Plus, it's the first of its kind in that it is a multi-season show. So you're actually able to dive into some of these characters a little bit more, where a lot of previous adaptations are more like a history. Now, on this show, for those that don't know, both Derek and Josh are Jewish. And so they are going to have a much different perspective of the show when they watched it, as opposed to somebody like me who comes from a Christian background. And I'm interested to know what they thought about it. So before we get into that, gentlemen, why don't you tell us a little bit about your religious background? Derek, why don't you go first?
Okay, so until I was about 9, religion really didn't even come into our household, really. We had Christmas, but it wasn't like you were celebrating, like, you weren't going to church. Like, it was just, oh, it's Santa's Day. I didn't even know it was about Jesus's birthday until, like, I think, like, even a few years later when I was like 10. So once I heard about that, I'm like, well, that takes a whole new meaning to the holiday, doesn't it? But until I was, like I said, until I was about 9, that was when Judaism entered our house, because my great grandmother asked my mom to, remember who we were and what our faith was, et cetera, et cetera. So that's when Christmas went away, which, that's a really cruel thing to do to a 9-year-old.
Wow.
That's horrifically awful. You don't get the tree this year. Sorry. What do I get? You get candles.
You get candles.
Yeah, you get candles and you get a top. They can call it a dreidel all they want to. It's a top. All right, that's what it is.
Ow.
Jeez. All right. And so, I mean, we still got good presents. I can't complain about that. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
The presents.
So then hit 9 on, I was in Sunday school. I was in Hebrew school, which made me mad every Sunday morning and every Thursday afternoon. But got through all that, got bar mitzvahed, went to Israel. I was very close with my Jewish friends pretty much through all of high school. But I can't say I'm practicing anymore. I've been practicing for some time. But certainly not against the Jewish faith or anybody else's faith, for that matter. As long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, fair game.
All right. What about you, Josh? Why don't you tell us a little bit of your background?
Well, I actually grew up as a conservative Jew. My parents, we celebrated, 2 days Shana for the Jewish New Year, went to synagogue for that, and for Yom Kippur, celebrated Passover, stayed in, kept kosher for Passover. Only time we really, kept kosher. My sister is actually Orthodox now. I was bar mitzvahed, like Derek, Sunday school, and then Hebrew school on Tuesday and Thursday. Got the bar mitzvah. Yeah, I know, right? And then also got confirmed and did that every Monday night. I forgot when, I think until like 16 or something.
Yeah, that's when I did that too.
Yeah. And then kind of like when I got married, as my wife would say, we're kind of Jew-like now. So it's more about, for us, the faith and, the holidays together. We are members of a synagogue. Yeah. So that's really my, history of religion there.
All right. And for those that don't know, I mean, like I said, some have probably come over from my other channel and know that I've been reviewing this show over on my other channel. And I come from a Christian background. I attend church as often as I can. I do work Sundays, so I usually end up having to go to a midweek service. But I grew up in church, and as part of the youth group, I still listen to Christian music. All the stuff that you would expect, from evangelical Christians and stuff like that. You listen to your worship music, stuff like that. So, I come from that faith, and I still read the scriptures. So that's where my background comes from. And like I said, I think that the religious background actually influences the way you watch the show. So now, before we get into the show itself, I just want to let everybody know to make sure you like the video. Don't forget to share it. Subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment. We would love to hear what you think on this topic, especially if you've seen the show, you haven't seen the show. We'd like to really know what you think. and just share your thoughts with us, because we would love to hear it. We'd love to interact with you and let you know what we thought. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into this. And so here's what we ended up doing. I didn't want Derek and Josh to start from the very beginning. And the reason why I didn't want them to start from the very beginning was because Jesus only appears in the first 2 episodes, maybe for a total of 10 minutes. And it's not that there's not stuff going on there. For those that have seen the show, there's a lot going on in those episodes, but I wanted to get them into the heart of the story to where they could understand why people like this show so much. So the show is currently in its 4th season. It's about to air its season finale of season 4, but I had them go back and watch 2 episodes from season 3, specifically episodes 4 and 5, which were clean part 1 and 2. I thought this was a good representation of what the show is. Plus, you get a background episode with some setup and an episode with some payoff. So for that reason, that's why I selected these 2 episodes. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and start. And why don't we start with general impressions of what you guys saw? Derek, why don't you start?
Sure. So right off the bat, in case anybody is curious to, do what we did here, Josh, just to kind of go back and forth with you and me to start, I did not get the impression that the show was like preachy or like anti-Semitic or anything like that.
Not at all.
That's not where this show goes at all.
No.
So if you're interested in keeping an open mind, like we do here, don't worry. You're going to be just fine if you walk into this cold like we did, and feel free to explore accordingly. So that was the first part about it. Just getting into some overall thoughts. I will start with, well, I'll get into a critique a little bit later, but we'll start positive and we'll end positive just with how I took some notes on it.
All right.
First things first, the fact that this is crowdfunded is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that when I was watching this, and going back to thinking about the fact that The Acolyte was, 180 million?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this, in the first season for this show, was 10 million?
Yeah.
Okay. It basically has proven everything we've been yelling about on this program of ours for Lord knows how many episodes straight. We haven't been going that long, but long enough where we've made this point. Good writing is good writing. And,
Absolutely.
and good plot is good plot. Good character development is good character development. And I think when people watch this show, you'll see that it runs much more like a modern day show. I was telling Bob this before I got on, before you got on, Josh. When I was watching this, it took me back to like an old school HBO show. Like, we all remember the days of Sopranos.
Yeah.
And then there was, Big Love, 6 Feet Under. There was a slew of shows that were just awesome.
Yeah.
And you can get into all of them. And I remember kind of thinking to myself, watching this show, like, if they made little tweaks here and there, you could probably put that on HBO and pull it off.
Yeah.
And it could be very, very interesting. So I thought that was a really cool way to show exactly how great writing can make really anything work. So I did appreciate that. I thought it was, I thought the most Jewish part of the show was when they were in, I think it was the olive tree, like the garden there. And this one guy goes, I got it for a pretty good deal. And for some reason, that made me feel very good. I don't know. That just brought me.
Oh, as soon as you said that, I knew where you were going with that.
That is funny.
Come
That's
on, I can't not. I gotta relate it back to Starface somehow. So, I also can appreciate the fact that if this is crowdfunded and eventually, I'm sure we're gonna know where it eventually ends up, as the seasons go on here. But they do a very good job, as Bob explained before, with the disciples themselves, and they don't give you a whole lot of information about the disciples.
Correct.
That's part of why you watch, is to figure out their story and how it all kind of links back up to Jesus and his congregation and how he makes his moves. and that's really where all the stories come into play. So you're going to get a lot of good storytelling through it too, because there's multiple stories happening at one time, and you got to pay attention to figure out what's what and who's where.
Yeah.
The critique I did have of it, I'm not even going to call it a criticism, but I did find myself treating this like House of Dragons, where I had to go back and look at trees and stuff again.
Oh wow.
Because I'm like, oh man, hold on, I got to figure out who's who. So I mean, I knew who was who, but I didn't know, everything about them. So I wanted to make sure I could piece this together as best I could.
And that's part of the problem when you come in cold to anything.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I did the same thing with House of Dragon, but this wasn't even nearly as complex as that. So luckily, I caught up to speed pretty fast. All in all, I think it's worthwhile if you're interested in checking out something new like we did. So those are my initial thoughts on it. Open to the Jew partner in crime here. Come along, Josh.
What do you think, Josh? General impressions.
I'll just go right ahead. I thought it was very well written. I thought it's a very good show. I would say it was interesting. So growing up, and Bob, you know this because we've known each other for so long, and Derek, you obviously know this. I remember asking my rabbi years ago about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Said, who was Jesus? And he said he was a rabbi. He was a preacher. That's all. For us, started a new religion, did the New Testament. We believe in the Old Testament. So when I started the show, at first I was like, oh my God, am I watching this? This is a little, out of my norm. And even I told Bob I was watching it on Peacock, and it kept going into advertisements, commercials. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. And finally, there were some parts that just drove me in. I was like, oh my God, the character arc with with Simon's wife, and the other lady who, was bleeding and everything.
I think her name was Veronica.
Veronica was very well done. And then Simon with the Roman guy, their chemistry was excellent. The one thing that I appreciated was the fact that all these people on the show were Jewish. Because, Derek, as you see, they were like Abba, Ima, Shalom. We have because it's true. Everyone was Jewish. No one had changed, to Christianity.
There were a couple Romans in there, to be fair.
Right. The way they did it, and it didn't feel like, oh, we're preaching to you. This is a new religion, and all of that. I don't know how. Obviously they got their material and how he was able to bring that girl back to life. I have no idea. Some of that stuff he just can't go over or figure out. Maybe later Bobby can kind of give us just a brief synopsis of what he thinks may be true and what might not. I don't know. But overall, just like, my God, very well written. Moved quickly once I actually ended up watching episode 2 on Amazon. And
it did go fast. Yeah, it kept speed. It was good.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is good. And even the ending with them in the water and just celebrating, I mean, it was good-hearted. There's really nothing I can say. Would it have been a show I would have watched? No, obviously, but I'm glad I got to see the 2 episodes.
Yeah, and there was a couple things that you mentioned there as to what we believe and whatnot. So just because you mentioned it, I mean, we could share it here on camera because that's, we're talking open mind here and whatnot. So from the perspective that we come from as Christians, we believe that Jesus was the Messiah, that he was the Son of God. So as a result, we believe that he had the power over death. And so that he actually raised the young girl up from the dead. Now, what there's something interesting in that scene, and it's actually written in the scripture. It's from the source material. They actually get that scene, I think, pretty close to the source material. I mean, there's a couple small differences here and there, but most of it is pretty spot on. But one thing that I liked was, he establishes when he says that he tells the mourners that she's sleeping. He establishes what the family's going to tell everybody. because remember, he instructs the family not to say anything. And the reason why he instructs them that is because he says that, if you're going around telling people that she came back from the dead, you're going to get a lot of attention and not all of it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And so he says, but he tells them, she's sleeping. So he establishes right there the story that they're going to tell everybody. And then I thought it was interesting because when he comes out of the house, you got the rabbi sitting there waiting for him, and he's like, I don't know what happened there, but did you touch a corpse? And that's the first thing out of his mouth. And he's like, well, go see for yourself. Because they were going to use the line that no, she was asleep. And so I thought that's real interesting in the scene that he establishes that. And I think it works real well on screen, especially the way the whole scene plays out.
Do they kind of come out with obviously we know the show can't go for forever in a day. Have they said they're doing 5-6 seasons and then
yeah, they're filming season 5 right now. They said it's going to be a 7-season show. So right now, the way season 4 ends, which, like I said, is the one they're just about to finish, because I actually saw it in its theatrical release that they had back in February. It ends with Jesus riding into Jerusalem, which is what we refer to as the triumphal entry, where he goes into the Passover week, and that's the week that he ends up being crucified on. So it ends with him riding it there. So the 5th season is supposed to begin to focus on the last week, the Last Supper, which I know you guys have probably seen the famous painting of the Last Supper or whatnot, or at least seen images of it. So that's what that's a reference to. And you have where Judas finally betrays Jesus. All of that's supposed to happen in season 5. My understanding is season 6 is supposed to be kind of the crucifixion. And then season 7 would probably be his resurrection at that point. And so that's kind of the way that they planned it out. And I think it's real interesting the way they've done it, because they've been able to tell significant portions of his ministry, as well as, and Derek mentioned this earlier, that because so many of the characters, there's not a lot of information given about them, they've come up with interesting storylines for these characters. And so you're able to spend time with a lot of them, and it makes them feel very real. I don't know about you guys, but I could relate to when Simon came home and you see his wife all of a sudden get angry at him, and he's trying to figure out why she's angry at him.
Yeah.
And so right there, that makes him a relatable character.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's go back to Jesus's birth, like 0 BC or any of that, or no?
No. Well, they actually have they have a Christmas special, but that one's completely separate from the rest of the show. It was filmed as like a one-off thing. So it's tied to the show, but it's not part of the main series. So like you can go back and watch it, and it involves some of the same actors, but it's not tied to the main series. It actually begins, and I was telling Derek this, the way the show first starts, it grabs you right from the get-go. Now, like I said, Jesus is not in but maybe the last few minutes of the episode, but the way that it grabs you is that it starts with this father and daughter talking, and it's supposed to be set like 30 years before the events of the show. And then as soon as that conversation's done, it fast forwards 30 years, and you see the girl has now grown up, and and that's become Mary Magdalene. And she's covered in blood, and the scripture says that she was demon possessed. So she's covered in blood, and then it switches to this guy running on the outside, and he bumps into this Roman soldier, and he's got these marks, scratch marks and stuff on him. And he's like, she tried to kill me. She tried to kill me. And that's the way the show opens, with this demon possessed woman. And so right from the get-go, it grabs you with an interesting storyline. So I thought that's what sets this show apart from a lot of faith-based entertainment, in that it still delivers its message, but it finds a way to do so without sacrificing entertainment. And in fact, it creates some very compelling characters and storylines.
But what's happened? Like you started us in season 3. I mean, we have
Yeah.
seasons.
No,
Like,
the reason why I wanted to start you there is because part of the appeal of the show is the miracles, the character drama, and all of that stuff. And I wanted you to have an episode where you could spend some time with some of the characters, where
Yeah.
Jesus only appears like in just a couple of minutes of the episode, but then he's very prominent in the next one to where you see him working the miracles. And so it's almost as if you get this episode of real people with real problems, and then Jesus comes into the middle of it to help try to fix some of those issues.
what's happened in the previous 2 seasons? Performing miracles.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of miracles. Okay, so do you remember when okay, so in the 5th episode, when Jesus healed Veronica,
Yes.
he asks her, how did you, or who told you I could heal? And she says, a man from the pool. Well, in the previous season, in season 2, you actually see the healing of the man at the pool who was a paralyzed man. And turns out he's the brother of one of the disciples. Now the guy ends up becoming a disciple because he sees his brother walking, and he had told his brother, once I see you walking, I'll know the Messiah is here. And so he seeks out who healed his brother. And there's an interesting storyline with him because he comes from a militant group of Jews known as the Zealots.
Right.
And so you get a lot of background on him and what that life might have been like. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes on in the first 2 seasons, but I just thought that these 2 episodes were kind of a good representation of what the show was. It gave you a chance to spend some time with some characters, see the world that they live in, as well as actually see Jesus involved in their lives.
Got it.
Yeah.
I have a question. I don't want to get too religious,
No,
but
go
I'm
ahead.
curious about something. So you believe that Jesus is the Messiah,
Yes.
whereas Derek and I believe the Messiah has not yet come. Whoever
Right.
the Messiah is will come. There'll be peace. There'll be, people will return from the from the dead and all that. When Jesus is crucified
Mhm.
and dies, so basically the Messiah, there are no more miracles happening.
Well,
He's
I would-
gone. Like,
Well, I would count his resurrection as one, because you keep in mind, remember, the scripture teaches that he rose from the dead and that his followers saw him. So it wasn't like it just says, oh, he just raised from the dead. All of his followers say they saw him. They say they walked with him and talked with him for I think it was up to 40 days after they had after he had rose. So they spent time with him, and so then they went out preaching that he was alive.
but then
So
what happened 40 days?
the scripture teaches that he ascended back to heaven at that point, and they say that they saw him ascend back to heaven. So that's where the beginnings of Christianity began. It wasn't. It was really with the disciples and them going and teaching the teachings of Jesus and that he was alive. That was where the beginnings of as Christianity beginning to split off from Judaism, where that started.
So that's the New Testament.
Well, the Gospels are the beginning of the New Testament. And that's the life of Jesus. So, and the show tries to capture as much of that as they can, but at the same time, the show tries to entertain. I've seen interviews with the director, and he's talking about that they're trying to entertain. They want people to enjoy what they're watching, and to where anybody can come and watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now,
We should have warned people that there were some serious spoiler alerts that you guys just gave.
well, being that the season has been out for a while, I wouldn't call this I
You
wouldn't
just
call
talked
it
about his
major
resurrection.
spoiler,
Come
but-
on. You just gave it. Come on. You can't.
Right.
So Derek, what are you were kind of holding back there
Yeah.
until after Josh finished. What are some of the specifics that you liked?
I liked the fact that it tried to be historically accurate. I think that was, a nice way of handling business.
How so?
Well, I did like the fact it goes back to Josh's point about the fact that everybody was Jewish. I mean, that's how it worked back then. So they're trying to give a realistic depiction of what things looked like during that time, which I think is a good way to go about doing a show like that because it will keep people interested and it will keep people entertained. Because if you're going back and you're trying to follow history, that's a nice way of doing that because it doesn't get into a direction of being preachy, which is where probably a lot of Jewish people would think that the show was going. So I like that dimension of it very much. I also like the character development. I talked a little bit about that previously, but it does make you want to watch because you want to get to know the stories a little bit more about each of the disciples.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you just enough information to know where stories are going, which I think is very well done because that's probably what's going to keep seasons 4 through 7 going is going to be those stories. So I like those very much. I also think it was very how was I trying to phrase this? I think the show does a very good job keeping. It could be they're in season 3, but it does a very good job not making it seem like Jesus is the real Messiah yet. Like it's really trying to fit that context into it too. Where this guy's a big deal, but he's still a rabbi. They still keep calling him the rabbi.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice, crafty way of doing things. All in all, I think those are my positives about it. I mean, like I said, the fact that this is crowdfunded, and yeah, exactly. I mean, 180 million. Wow.
What'd
Josh,
you think of the acting?
Acting was good.
Very good.
And that was actually the fun part about it too. I knew nobody from the cast, and nobody at all. Everybody was new to me, but it was so very well acted, and enjoyed that aspect of it too.
What do you think about it, Bob? What are some positives and maybe some negatives? Is there something that you don't like about it?
So as far as positives I like about the show, first off, I think the show, the fact that it has a singular or a single director for the entire show, this director is also a producer. He's the showrunner. He's one of 3 writers on the show. So he has, you get pretty much a singular vision, an idea of where he wants to take it. And I know Omid had mentioned this to us in the interview we did with him a couple of weeks ago, that one of the problems with some of the writing in Hollywood is that you have so many hands in the pot. Too many, or the way he said it was, you have too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yep.
And so I think that's one aspect that I really like about it is that you get a singular vision, and the backstories that they've come up for with these characters, I think are really, really good. So a perfect example. I mentioned just a moment ago, the brother who got healed at the pool, that he was a brother for one of the disciples. That's not actually in the scripture that they're brothers. Now, it doesn't say that they're not, because we really don't know a ton about that particular disciple, except we know he was one of the zealots at one point, and then he became a disciple. Beyond that, we don't know a whole lot about him. So the creative team is like, okay, let's take this character that we know gets healed at this point. Let's make him related to this disciple. So it gives this disciple a reason why he wants to leave the zealots to follow this new rabbi, because he healed one of his own family members. So it gave him some motivation to do that. And so that's just an example of a backstory. Josh, do you remember the scene where they were buying the olive grove?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that scene, you see Judas, and Derek said that that was one of his favorite scenes as far as. So in that scene, you see Judas negotiating a better price for to have this guy teach Zebedee how to run the olive grove and whatnot. The only thing we really know about Judas, besides the fact that he betrayed Jesus later in the Bible, we know he was the treasurer of the disciples. And so, because he was the treasurer of the disciples, the creative team gives him a background in business for the show. When you first meet him, he's an apprentice to a businessman, and they're making real estate deals, something you could relate to, Josh. And so, so he actually kind of worked in as a businessman in real estate, kind of buying land, reselling it, stuff like that. And so that's the background that they gave him for the show. So that's another thing that I like, is that they take these characters that would otherwise be obscure and they gave them backstories to make them relatable to something that you'll recognize or you might relate to, and it just makes them more interesting. It makes them feel real. And so that's one of the things that I liked about it, is that it felt real. And then, of course, I think that the acting is really well done. And I think for the most part that the stories have been extremely well told throughout the show. If I had to be, a critic and say some of the things that I didn't like, I mean, there's always a few spots, just like any show, where some stuff drags that you can cut down, that looking back, you're kind of like, oh yeah, they probably could have done this differently. There's a character that you guys didn't meet in these 2 episodes because her character is actually away visiting her father at the time. She doesn't come back for another few episodes, but anyway, she ends up dying in season 4. So, but it was the way that they did her death that, even though I appreciated it from a storytelling standpoint, because I think it was very effective, looking at it, the way it was executed on screen, I was like, wait a minute, they could have gone the other way. They didn't have to go. They didn't have to go that way. They could have gone this way.
What did you do?
Well, it was a character that you haven't met yet, Josh. What happened was, she and one of the disciples, who actually they became engaged, they were trying to get out of a crowded situation, and what happened was, one of the head Roman, not Gaius, but his boss, had finally gotten upset at all these gatherings that were going on, and he had finally fallen behind on tax collection. And so it was looking real bad on him. Well, he heard that Jesus was having this gathering and it was causing some ruckus with the religious leaders. And so he gets up trying to break it up, and he has his sword drawn. And at this point is when the disciple and this lady turn around and are trying to get through the crowd. And he turns around and stabs her because she gets by him. And he just, his reaction is he turns around and stabs her. And so,
And Jesus save her?
No, and that brings up an interesting point that we'll get to in just a second. So she ends up dying, and that it was just more the way that it was executed. Now, this is the point I wanted to make regarding that, because you said asked if Jesus healed her. He doesn't in this case, and this kind of goes back to the Eden character in episode 5. She's turning around watching all these people be healed, and yet she just had this miscarriage, and yet she's walking and talking with somebody that all these followers believe to be the Messiah. And she's witnessing these healings, and it's this idea of why them? Why not me? And that's a theme that ends up running through a lot of the show. And it's a theme that Christians deal with. And I'm sure almost any religion kind of deals with it, because, you ask questions like, okay, well, why does this happen? But this doesn't happen? Why do bad things happen to good people or stuff like that? And so it's an important theme, and the show does not shy away from it. And the thing is when Jesus gives an answer, it's not really an answer per se that you're going to understand because you're in pain at the moment. So it's more that he offers comfort in those moments. And usually the answer is something along the lines of, I know you don't understand now, but one day you will. Why my father, or why I allow things to happen. And so it's an interesting theme. And I think the way that they play it in the 5th episode, where you see Eden at the end, especially on that end shot, and as they're seeing everybody celebrate, and the camera pans around to her, and you see this just pain in her eyes, and that's an interesting theme that, like I said, is explored throughout the show.
Did you know she had the miscarriage, Derek? Because I didn't know it was her at the beginning.
No, not at the beginning, but I did piece it together as we went through. Yeah, I was able to figure it out.
God, was there something else I was going to ask Bob about?
Now, you mentioned, Josh, that you liked the chemistry between the Roman soldier and Simon,
Yes.
or his name's Gaius. So, what was it that you liked about that? There, what was it that you liked? What caught your attention about it?
I just thought it was like he almost used him as a father figure.
Okay.
Able to talk to him and get advice from him. And at first you didn't think, like, you thought they were going to clash. And then he like offers him his drink and he's like, no, I can't take that. And he's like, okay, just a drink.
I love his expression when he offers it to it. He's like, I can't do that. He's like, oh man, you.
But he starts to kind of understand where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was just they were kind of funny together. They were serious together.
He gives the advice that every husband knows.
Oh,
you're right. I am sorry.
Yeah. What was it again?
He goes, you better start getting used to you better get very used to 5 words if it's the trouble in your household. Yeah, you're right. I am sorry.
It didn't work for Simon. It didn't work.
No, it didn't work at all.
That's what made it funny, is that he turns around and actually uses those words. And then when he's like, hey, it didn't work. And he's like, well, you gotta mean it.
No, I mean, no, he said I mean, really, if you think about it, his advice was say it. Now, whether it works or not, that's a different discussion.
What I was going to say now was when Jesus saves the lady, the little girl, and he goes, I don't want you to tell anybody about this.
Okay. Yeah. What do you like about that scene?
Think about it. It kind of shocked me because I thought he would want people to know.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually took it to a new level by saying they wouldn't understand. And it's almost like he has to do more miracles for different people to really get it going, I guess. Right, Derek?
Yeah. Nobody would have left them alone, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, that either.
You know what I like about the lead up to that? I like the actor who plays Jarius, the father. Yes. I thought he did a great job through that. Yeah, he caught a lot of emotions through his acting and during those scenes. One, first off, when he gets to to Simon's house, and he's asking Jesus for help, and you could just see the tears in his eyes, the pain in his eyes, because he's hoping for some help here. And I love the way that scene's played out. And then fast forward to in the house after he heals or even before he heals the daughter, right when he finds out that she's died.
Yeah.
And think about the devastation that you must feel, that you believe that this man can heal her, and or even like if you're taking somebody to a doctor or you get a medicine or something like that, you think you have the answer. And then right before you can even do anything with it, the rug gets pulled out from under you.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what happens to him. And just his expression, he's like, no, he was going to heal her. I ran as fast as I could. He was going to heal her. And, just the way he played that. And then right after he heals her, when he's thanking him, I just, again, the acting that or the emotion that he portrays during that, where he says, thank you. There's no other words but thank you.
Yeah.
And just his expression. I love that whole scene.
Ran the gauntlet of emotion.
Now, now, Josh, you mentioned to me privately, you had asked, what was going on with Veronica. What'd you think of her story?
Oh, I thought she had a great story arc. I mean, here's somebody who got owned by her parents, who was considered unclean, did little quotes there, for 12 years. And, had that relationship with Eden, talked to her, and I didn't really make sense of it I don't know. It was weird. When I first saw the laundry and I saw the blood-stained sheets and everything, I thought she was doing someone else's laundry. I didn't realize it was her laundry. And then where she said, where the two guys came, the two apostles, I guess, and said, we can help you. And, she got excited for the first time because she was so serious. And then when she, saw Jesus in the crowd and she, tried to grab him, and then she did. And it was like instant. I mean, it was instant.
Yeah.
Where she felt, that she was saved. And, he said, somebody touched me. And you thought, oh my God, what's he going to say about it? And, he was sweet. He said, the reason you're healed is because of your faith. And then at the end, she just became a whole different character. Is she still around in the later episodes?
She shows up briefly in the 4th season, where you see her and the brother who was healed at the pool in season 2. The two of them are sharing what happened to them with some people, and so you see it there. Now, there was something that you mentioned, how like she becomes this totally different person, and I love the way that sequence is played too. So, again, you see Jesus saying, "Who touched me?" And you said something else interesting. You wonder what he's going to say.
Yes.
And you're looking at the rabbi who's with them at that time, Rabbi Yusuf, the one who brought the Jairus to Jesus to get the help. And you see him wondering what Jesus is going to say, because as the rabbi, he knows what the laws of purification and all of that stuff are supposed to be. At one point during that whole sequence, that whole interchange between Jesus and Veronica, Yusuf kind of interrupts and is like, she was bleeding so long, and he's about to say that we can take her, and Jesus has to interrupt and says, no, she's clean at that point. So I thought that was really cool, because nobody knew what he was going to say.
Take her where?
Well, you can hear him say, we can take her, but he gets interrupted as he's saying we can take her. He probably would have taken her to fulfill purification laws at that point.
Probably
because there were certain laws that they had. If a lady was going through that time, or if stuff was going on like that, so they had different purification laws. Her problem was that the bleeding consistently was going on, so there was nothing she could do to make herself clean per se. And so
religion
that's the impression that I get, that's probably where he was going to take her. And that's why Jesus interrupts her and says, no, she's clean.
Yeah. Derek, isn't that called a mikvah? The mikvah bath?
That sounds right.
Maybe it's where, like, married, right before they get married, they go to this place that's a bath. And and all that stuff. Yeah,
that sounds familiar.
That's what Bob.
I forgot to mention this, not to get us on a side note here. You know what I also liked about it was the black and white footage before they went and shot it in color. I thought that was very well done
with the montage.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice way to. It does a great job pulling you in a very, very artful way. So I had a lot of fun with
Lost.
that.
I was lost during that.
I was lost, but I'm also like, well, they're probably gonna, but you have to give it time, right? I'm like, all right, well, this
Right.
is 59 minutes long. Let's see where they're gonna take me with this. But I did think it was cool to watch that part first, move into the rest of the show. I thought that was very, very nice touch.
Yeah.
I thought the montage was done pretty well, and I know I talked to both of you off camera on this, and essentially that whole scene, you've got the disciples. This is their first mission trip by themselves,
Right.
and in addition to it being their first trip by themselves, they're told by Jesus prior to going on this trip to teach the things that he's been saying, but to also perform miracles. Now, y'all didn't actually see the scene, but as they're being told to do this, one of the disciples turns around. He's like, you want us to do what? And another one's like, is there a ceremony I missed here? Because what do you mean you want us to do this? Because he even tells them, I want you to, you're gonna cast out demons and whatnot. You see their eyes getting this big. They're like, what do you mean we're gonna be doing this? And so it's kind of a unique sequence that you see, because the way the actors play it is that this is their first time ever doing any of this stuff, and so it's a shock to them that these miracles are happening. And so later in the episode, they're explaining, I can almost feel Jesus working through me, or he gave me the words to say. But even then, they're like, I don't really understand any of it.
Did you pick that up? What did we sign up for here?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff. Back to Veronica real quick. There was something else I wanted to mention about that scene, and I don't know if you two picked up on it, but when he tells or when he's talking with her, he refers to her as daughter, and she says, "I'm nobody's daughter."
Yeah.
And he tells her to look up, and then he tells her, "Yes, you are." And you just see her kind of break down, because this is the first time anybody's called her that in years.
Right. 12 years.
And right as he's leaving, though, he puts his hands on her face, and you see her reach and grab his hand. And it's just kind of a little, it's a little detail, because remember, if she had touched anybody, they would be unclean. And yet here he is grabbing her and allowing her to grab his hand. So this is probably some of the first contact she's had with anybody in years.
Mm.
So I think that's a real nice little detail that they include there.
Yeah. Great. I thought it was very good.
Nice part about good writing is they remember details.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's the thing, is that we were comparing this to The Acolyte, which has been all over the place, and then you look at something like this that, granted, you're not including like all the space stuff and whatnot, so it's a much simpler story. But just the fact that they're able to still humanize it and make you feel what you do for the characters, because like this is a story that I think almost anybody could relate to something in these episodes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
it is telling how the fact that this guy did have a singular vision, but it is nice to see a good writer director also appreciate the fact that audiences have become more sophisticated.
Absolutely.
And that's that if I like the fact that he was like, if we go the preachy route, that's what it's going to turn into. We're not going to do that. We're going to take this a different direction, and did it the right way. So good on
They found a good balance.
Yeah, they did. They did.
They found a very good balance with the show. It's got enough of the preachiness that its core audience, because let's be honest, its core audience is still going to be Christian.
Yeah.
That's going to be the core audience.
It was never insulting.
Yeah.
No,
at all.
it wasn't that at all.
Learning.
And it's not cheesy at all either. That's the
No.
thing.
I
That's
didn't
the other one.
I didn't think it would be. I just think it would, as a Jewish person, you're always like, if you see something about Jesus, you're like, well, what are they going to do? Is there going to be any, like Derek said, there was
Yeah.
no, it was well written. They like I said, they were speaking Hebrew. They were talking
Yeah.
about Sabbath. They were, doing all the stuff that we as Jews do. It just, here you have somebody who they didn't know was the Messiah for them, and came in and, performed this stuff, which, like Derek and I have no idea, this is something over our heads, but
Right.
it was a very well written show in a time where writing is such an issue with people. I really feel, it's a good written, well written show.
Yeah, it's something you can appreciate because, like you said, for those who have been watching us and for those that are new on this show, we talk about all types of shows and movies and stuff, and we're not afraid to talk about shows that are badly written.
No.
This was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it really shocked me.
It was good. Yeah.
Shocked me.
Absolutely.
So, very good.
All right. Any final thoughts before we move on to our next topic?
I don't think so. Derrico?
You interest anybody in some holy water?
Oh,
I got my
Yeah,
heroes.
Coke Zero. He's Coke
If
Zero.
I could, turn water into this stuff. Ah.
I gotta try to get something different. I gotta try to get the Mountain Dew now and see how that is.
Yeah, you got to try that one out.
I still haven't tried. Yeah, that's a good call. I got to start searching on that.
I think we should do a taste test on here. And I taste test of the different drinks.
You know what we could do, Derek, and I've mentioned that we could do this with other stuff too, but we could do like a rating where what we do is we each sample several different drinks and whatnot, and then we will rate them. And then like when we come on the show, we need to come up to a consensus which are the proper drinks that are belong on the top and which ones belong on the bottom and whatnot. I think
We do it like the Olympics.
with,
we hold up the signs.
yeah, we could do it with we could come up with like a different tier, like, okay, these drinks belong on the top tier, these on the bottom tier, these on the mid, and kind of come up with something like that. That could be fun.
Yeah, they do that out there too on YouTube. They have like
Yeah.
S, B, C, D, F. We should. I'm game for that.
That could be fun.
I know Bobby's always drank Diet Cokes, because of his household. But you're getting old when you have to switch to the diet stuff. It's like I'm playing golf and my friends are ordering a Diet Coke,
Yeah. You get all nervous when you see the real Coke now. You're like, oh, I should stay away from that.
I did have a glass today at work.
Did you?
Oh, that's so good.
It is good. It does make you feel like a kid. I can't deny that.
I don't do it that often, but I
Yeah.
had it maybe once every couple weeks.
That's not bad. That's all right. You'll live.
But alrighty.
All right. So now we're going to get into the next topic, and that is we want to take a look at the new Superman movie that's coming out with later next year that James Gunn is directing. And the reason why we want to take a look at this is we actually talked about the costume several weeks ago. Well, what it was, I don't even remember how long ago it was now. What, about 5-6 weeks ago, something like that?
I
That's
think
all
so.
right.
Yeah. So, and we talked about that when the first costume or the first picture released of the costume. Well, since then, several more pictures have popped up of the costume as well as some of the other characters. And so we wanted to go ahead and take a look at this and see what we think. So let me get this up here. All right. So this is the new costume. This is a better look at it as opposed to that first picture that we saw several weeks ago where he looked like he was bored and needed some coffee. So,
See, military.
all right. So just before I get to the next picture, just initial thoughts. Now that we get a better view of the suit, and this is obviously, these are pictures like from an iPhone or an Android or something like that. These aren't like production photos like where they've gone and touched stuff up yet, or we don't have final editing and CGI or all that stuff. So just based on this, Josh, what do you think?
I'm looking at it even close up now. First of all, A+, it's got the yellow S on the cape. You both know I love that. That's a big thing for me. We've got the red tights, we got the red boots. If both of you look at the picture on the right, I think it's the best looking one, much brighter. I do see, like what all of us have talked about, little baggy. I'm hoping, yes, they do clean that up. I think if they can tighten some stuff up with it, it could be great. Derek, what do you think?
Are you in Project Runway? What are you talking about? I've never seen somebody so obsessed with superhero wardrobe. Good Lord.
Your project
Make it work. Okay, anyway.
it's work.
Have you ever seen Project Runway, Derek?
I mean, because my wife is watching it in the living room, yes. Like that's the only way
I guess
get my eyes on it.
Now, thanks, Derek.
All right. So, since what about you, Josh? You ever seen it?
Yes, Lisa watches it all the time.
So I'm the only one here that's never seen it.
Well,
I mean, I guess you got lucky.
you
I know.
watch it.
I guess I still have my man card, right?
Irene doesn't watch it. You don't watch and see Irene watching it.
No. If she watches it, I'm not aware of it. We'll put it
Well,
that
okay.
way.
To be fair to the better half in the house, we give each other nights with the television. So when it's time for that, hey, feel free. And then I get my nights as well, like when Money in the Bank will be on next Saturday.
There you go.
So the trade-off is real. Balance is important, as we
Is
talked
that
about.
already on Saturday?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Okay.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Because I was gonna say I didn't think it was this Saturday.
What about Forbidden this weekend? AEW. No.
Like we were saying, let's talk about the superhero
Yes.
costume.
Derek,
What do you think, Derek?
So I the more I'm looking at the guy who's playing him, he does have the look. He does pull it off.
Yeah.
So I think they made a good choice with the casting. It looks like we're going to get kind of the same theme. Josh will probably hate this too, but it's the same thing from Man of Steel, where he, in essence, turns himself into the military.
Oh God.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it looks like. I don't know. I could be wrong. Why would he fight the military? It is
That's true.
That guy. So he'll probably, turn himself in and try to make friends with them. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Lex Luthor as a result, because in Man of Steel, I think he tried to just do that just to, basically say, like, I'm safe, I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Right.
But I think that was because General Zod was like, you better give him back over to us.
Yeah.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how Lex Luthor, intertwines
Plays
into all
into this, yeah.
Yeah. So that should be a fun little plot point. I don't know. The more and more I'm looking at it, they seem on the right track from what I can tell. We know very little about what's going on other than this. So if we're basing it off this for now, so far so good.
Why are you
All
talking
right.
about the plot? He asked you about the Superman.
Because I don't need to worship wardrobe like you do.
He's like, Bobby asked Derek. He's like, what do you think about the suit? Well, the plot of this movie looks really
Shut up!
You.
Why, Why, Bob? Why?
Well, it's been like what, about 4 weeks since we've done it?
Yeah, you've had enough of a break. You're due.
You had to get one. I had to get one in. No, but no, I know what you're saying. I guess what Derek's trying to say, Josh, is that maybe when we have the context of it, that maybe that will influence also the way that we see it.
Yeah, that'll probably come into play.
I
Okay.
just get the little, like, it's interesting because, and yes, I am critiquing it, Derek. So, you Project Run.
You go ahead and critique it, Josh.
If you look at look at the left picture of him standing, kind of faded picture with him kind of close. It looks a little bit better versus the one that I liked, which is more colorful, looks baggier to me.
Okay, so the one on the left was a high resolution photo.
Okay.
So it was cleaned up a little bit. The other one, not so much. It could just be also the lighting of when they took the picture. Don't know what it looked like outside. So I'm sure some of that plays into it. But
Mhm.
yeah, as far as the costume itself, the issue I've got with it is I just don't like the designs up around the shoulders and whatnot. To me, it just stands out a little too much. It looks too much like a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 costume.
Right.
Mm.
Like, I think if you take the S off and the cape, puts Chris Pratt in there, you got Star-Lord. So that's the only issue I have with it, but I do like the color scheme. The S design I'm fine with. I like that they got the red trunks back. So I'm fine with it. I do want to see, though, what the final product looks like once we see it on screen and in the movie and they've cleaned it up post production. Because if you look at the one on the right, yeah, it is a little baggy.
Like, and I don't want to get too much into the nerd factor here, but like, is that like a Kryptonian design that they were going for, or
I don't know.
I was about to say, I did want to mention though, to that point, the Superman suit really should look like it's not from this world. There should be a little bit of a difference.
yeah? And that's why I'm wondering if they're using any. If they weren't, maybe that should have been something we're using Kryptonian symbols around there instead. I just can't tell if those.
But that also brings into question the suit. Where did it come from? Because in the comic, depending on what version you're reading, his first suit was something that was sewn together by his mom.
Right. Yeah.
So that begs to question: is this a suit that his mom made, or is this, are they going the route that this is more Kryptonian? So yeah, I just don't know what direction that they're going with it yet.
The cape was his blanket, right? That he showed up in as a baby.
I think it was made from the same material, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Something
I
like
think.
that?
I think I heard something about how when he showed up in the Kent's, not at their doorstep, but he was wrapped up in the cape. It was his blanket.
Interesting. I wonder. See,
All
that
right.
would make sense. If his mother made the suit, then I'd be like, oh, okay, that's awesome.
All right. Well, let me pull up the next slide here.
Here we go.
Okay, so I wanted to pull this one because we could compare this suit to some other suits. So this is the first picture here in which we're seeing Christopher Reeve, who in my mind is always going to be Superman.
Right.
But we're seeing here, again, this is like a professional production photos of Christopher Reeve in the costume. So obviously these aren't professional photos over on the right. So these aren't final products of what it's going to look like. But how do you think the suit compares to the original Donner suit?
It's almost kind of like it's apples and oranges here, because when you look at the Donner suit, granted that's the look, that's the classic look.
Right.
We all know it, but really at the end of the day, it is spandex. Like, as a full body suit. So I think one is, I think on the right, it just kind of shows maybe, yeah, of course it's going to be a little outdated. What was that, 40 years ago? Something like that?
I think the first film,
79?
it was 78 or 79, somewhere around there.
Yes, it's been a long time. So it does show that, and like I said, for the one on the right, if we do show that this suit is supposed to be a little out of this world, I think that's a good thing. I think that, to show that he's from another planet entirely and make the significance of that count, you could do it with the suit, and I think that's a good thing.
All right.
So I think it holds up. I don't think it does I don't think it's an insult to the old suit, though.
Okay. So let's compare it to some more modern suits here.
Okay.
So here's obviously Henry Cavill from Man of Steel and the Snyder trilogy, and then you see how do you pronounce his last name, Josh? Tyler Hoechlin? Is it Hoechlin?
Yeah,
okay. From the show Superman and Lois and his suit, and then obviously this one. How do you think this compares? Now I got to point out that Tyler Hoechlin's suit is on the CW.
Mm.
So the fact that it's on the CW, I actually think his suit looks pretty good
Yeah,
for a CW
Oh,
show.
yeah. No.
the S is the most similar to Christopher Reeve's S.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So how do you think the new suit holds up with some of the more recent or variations of it?
I like the new suit. I like it better than the Henry Cavill.
Really,
Wait,
Josh?
We all know Bobo's favorite, Henry Cavill. He loves that suit.
Actually, I might surprise you, Josh.
Well, I already know what you like. Actually, you like Tyler Hoechlin's suit.
I do. That the fact that the CW made that
No, they did a good job.
the
I like
CW is known for, how shall I say it? It's known for producing shows that don't make any money and superhero shows that are awful. And Superman and Lois happens to be, and it happens to be actually a good show for the most part.
Yeah.
And I actually like the Tyler Hoechlin suit.
It's cool. It looks a little weird though with the, I don't know, it looks like computer generated on that picture.
Well, I'm sure that some of it is cleaned up in post production because let's face it, Tyler Hoechlin's not exactly the most built guy here. You know, Henry Cavill puts all of them to shame when it comes to physique.
Right.
Now, I will say I've seen some pictures of what's this new guy's name? Corn Sweat, David Corn Sweat. I think I've seen some pictures of him, and he's bulked up for this role. So
yeah, no, I
got to give him that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really cares for it.
All right. So not only do we want to talk about Superman, but like I said, some pictures of some of the other characters came out.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Lois Lane.
Oh, that's a good I like it. I like her.
It's a good choice.
Very good.
Yeah.
So
was she supposed to? No, she wasn't supposed to. She was never a redhead. That was just Amy Adams.
No.
Yeah,
they just got Amy.
Oh
no, I think she was always I think she always had dark hair.
Yeah,
she's
okay.
on the Marvelous Miss Maisel, right?
Is that who that is?
Isn't that?
She's on the Marvelous Miss Mabel.
Maisel.
Is that who that is?
I'd have to go look
that up.
Let me
You want me
see.
to look it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
Oh,
maybe I'm completely off on that one.
hold on.
I'm looking at it right now. So Rachel Brosnahan.
Yeah.
That is her. That is her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she looks great. Kind of similar to Margot Kidder.
A little bit.
I like the look.
Me
What do
too.
you, Bob? A little similar to Margot Kidder.
A little bit.
Has some aspects.
And I think to this day, I saw some, what was it? Some other test screenings with some of the other actresses that were up for the role of Lois Lane, and they were test screening with Christopher Reeve. I think didn't they have Susan Sarandon as one of the ones in the running? I think so. And there was somebody else that I saw, but when you see Margot Kidder, she just had the best chemistry with Christopher Reeve.
What it was.
She did.
She had really, really good chemistry. The two of them were perfect for those roles.
There's a great Q&A from General Zod, and I can't remember who was female. I can't remember her name, but
yeah.
Oh God.
The character's name was Ursa.
Yeah,
yes.
I think
But it was a great Q&A between those two, and they mentioned a point about how great their chemistry was, and was that way through all of whatever all four of the films. So that was that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, all right, let's see the next one.
Yeah.
All right. So now we got Clark Kent. So we see him as Clark Kent.
Is that Tony Khan?
And next to Lois Lane,
You didn't get my thing yesterday, Derek, from TikTok that somebody said, "My God, I'm almost convinced that's Tony Khan."
I don't touch TikTok, man. I don't touch that platform.
A good, except he's a little. It's interesting. I love the outfit. Love the outfit. Here we go. Little Project Runway. He needs
Jeez,
to
Josh.
put that on. He needs to have the fedora.
He looks like he looks so like disheveled. I think there was a point to that where it's just like, as a human, he's just a mess. Like he has to disguise himself like that.
Like, that's accurate.
Yeah. So he shows up to work like looking like he didn't comb his hair.
Oh, Bob, do you see?
What'd you say, Josh?
Behind him? Do you see the woman behind him with purple hat, pink hat?
Yeah.
Is that Kristen Crook?
I don't think so. No.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. It looks like her a little bit.
Maybe. But yeah, you're definitely on to something there, Derek. He does look disheveled.
Yeah, that's I
He
did.
looks like a mess. Like maybe that's what he was
Yeah.
supposed to, look like to fit
Looks
in.
like he's got a mop on top of his head.
Yeah, he just like woke up and he was just like, "Oh, late again. Better get going."
You know,
Yeah.
Zack Snyder was directing this. You know, Lois Lane would know exactly that's Superman.
I'm fine with that.
Of course you
Yeah.
are.
Well, she finds out. Yeah, Josh is acting like,
Yeah.
it's terrible that she knows that he's Superman. She finds out in the second film anyway.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
That's true.
Come on.
Well, did you ever see that SNL skit with The Rock?
Yeah.
When he was
Yes, yes.
That summed it up beautifully. Like he just walks, "Oh, hey guys, sorry."
And you can see the Superman
Yeah,
costume.
the blue. Yes, my bad, guys. Oh, that traffic, huh?
Oh, and they're all playing around with it because they all know.
That's so funny.
All right. So next picture. Here's them with their comic book counterparts.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
Rather accurate.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see the other characters.
All right, let's see. So this is the best picture I could
wow.
find of Lex Luthor.
There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of that guy, Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
You know, he
He
was
did a
up
good
for the
job.
role of Superman too. He just didn't get it.
I see him. I think he looks better this way.
You know, it reminds me a little bit of Cillian Murphy, who was up for
Batman.
the role of Batman in
Yeah,
Batman
that's cool.
Begins, but ended up getting casted as the Scarecrow when he didn't get the role. So I
Right.
thought, I like that they kept Nicholas Hoult because I'm like you, Derek. I think he's a good actor.
Maybe he
Yeah.
could Wayne.
Who Nicholas
So-
Hoult could play Bruce Wayne?
Maybe. No.
Nah,
Nah, I don't
I'm
know.
cool. I'm cool with him as Lex Luthor here.
It's for
Yeah,
And
I
he
think
plays this role. Let's put
this-
it this way: he plays this role. He's not playing Bruce Wayne.
right.
I think
That's-
your boy Jensen Ackles should be Bruce Wayne.
I do too.
I think he's a little, and he's kind of a little scrawny for Superman, and you kind of need a big
Yeah.
dude for that.
They didn't.
So I think Lex Luthor is perfect. Looks good.
Yeah.
All right. So now here's Jimmy Olsen.
Very. I love this. I love
Very
it.
good.
It's great. This guy was in National Lampoon's Vacation, the new one. He was hilarious. He was in Curb.
Yes, he was.
Derek, the
Mhm.
dermatologist.
He was in The Righteous Gemstones, which is a great show.
I
Yeah.
just
Good
remember-
actor.
Looks like you have an atopic dermatitis. Oh, I see you met my son there.
So yeah, I think this
Oh,
is
I
I
love
think
it.
this is good casting.
Yeah, I would say
Very
so too.
All right, let's see. Then this is the last one. So yeah, I did have Cat Grant there. So this is Perry White and Cat Grant.
I mean, who's playing Perry White?
Oh shoot, hold on.
Is that the guy from Coming to America?
No,
The
no.
landlord?
Hold on. It's Wendell Pierce.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
He's
look,
played in
You look like
let's
that guy,
see.
don't you? It looks like him. I'm just saying.
Let's see. This is most recently what I saw him in. He played in the Jack Ryan TV show that was over on Amazon.
Oh,
He's
gotcha.
played in
Okay.
Suits. He had a role in It Could Happen to You that was years ago with Nicolas Cage and Bridget Fonda.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's the guy from The Wire. That's right.
So yeah, The Wire. He was in that as well.
You know
Great
what?
show.
Fishburne did a great job as Perry White. I think this guy will do a great job. I have no
Yeah.
issue. I think he
He's
looks.
gonna do great.
Who's the one
With
on
Perry
top?
White, I think you have to. It's more of an attitude that you have to have with that character,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he's one of those characters that I think you can get away with switching. You can have a major change with the look. You could make him younger. You could make him
right.
older. You can race swap. You can do some of this stuff with that character as long as they carry that attitude over.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a very good actor, so he will do that. He will do that role well.
I love Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. I thought
He was great too.
that was the one thing I really liked about Zack
You
Snyder.
know, my favorite casting choice in Man of Steel was Kevin Costner as Pa Kent. Now we can argue about how the story turned out for him, but a casting choice to play Pa Kent, I mean, that's perfect.
That's not bad at all, man. That's
Oh.
pretty. No, Josh, tell us how you feel. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just don't.
No.
Did you think I should have let them die, Dad? Maybe.
So yeah, like I said, we can argue story at another time, but the point was he was a good casting choice for the role. He's got the look, the kind of the attitude for it, which reminds me, speaking to Kevin Costner, I'm gonna go check out that new movie, The Horizon.
Oh, I heard it.
Yeah.
He's got coming out. Yeah, I'm going tomorrow to check that one out.
There's
Who is the girl on the right, by the way? Sorry, Derek.
That's she's playing Cat Grant.
Who's Cat Grant?
She was kind of the way she's portrayed in a lot of the shows and movies and stuff, or cartoons and stuff. She was running like a gossip column usually, or
The one Supergirl, her boss.
well, Supergirl changed her character around a little bit. They Callista Flockhart played her in
Yeah,
Supergirl and made her like the boss of the paper, that she kind of left the gossip column aside and pursued her own newspaper. But the one I remember most who plays Cat Grant is I can't remember the actress's name, but from Lois and Clark, the one where Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher were in.
Right.
Cat Grant was in the very first season. I actually recently did a rewatch of Lois and Clark season 1, and so she was always hitting on Clark Kent. And there's this one episode where Superman was trying to get rid of an asteroid, and so he was flying like a nuclear weapon into the asteroid. Or no, I take that back. He was going to try to break it up to avoid the use of a nuclear weapon. And he ends up losing his memory because he comes crashing back down to Earth and whatnot. And so as they're taking him all around the planet as Clark Kent, because they find him and they're like, hey, Clark. And of course, he can't remember anything. So they're taking him all around the Daily Planet. And Cat Grant's going up to him like, honey, don't you remember us? Can't you remember all the good times we had together? So even then, when he can't remember anything, she's sitting there pretending like they had this relationship together. So she was an interesting character. She was actually in Smallville, Josh. She was in the final season.
Oh, okay. God, I gotta go back to the final season.
Yeah. So that's supposed to be Cat Grant. So those are the picks from the new movie. So
far so
good.
good.
I'm excited. I can't wait for the new. When do you? Bobby and I talked about this, Derek. When do you think the first trailer comes out?
It comes out when in 2025?
July, I believe.
Holidays. Holiday season.
Okay.
Yeah. See, that's what I told Josh. I was thinking maybe November, December.
Yeah, I think somewhere around there. Yeah.
And then I do think you'll get a Super Bowl TV spot, but I think obviously the first trailer is just going to be a teaser. I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe 1 minute long and it's like a couple of quick images, and then find like a look at the S as like the last shot. And I that would be what I think. It wouldn't be anything more than that.
It's going to be very brief.
Yeah. And then I think the final, or not the final, but the official trailer, I'm thinking maybe March
That sounds about right.
Super Bowl.
or April.
It will probably
Somewhere
happen right after the Super Bowl space there, and that'll get everybody real excited for what's going to happen in July.
What the ending should be of the trailer is people looking up in the air pointing, and then you see the red boots and it's panning up, and then you see the yellow S in the back.
The ending of the trailer should be you judging his outfit.
Hey, perfect. I'm done. You broke.
Derek, he's been broken since last week, man.
I give up.
I know. There's nothing left of him. It's just you really, Judge. Are you okay? Can we help you?
No, I think next week is the rise and fall of Star Wars.
Oh,
Have you got to be careful going on social media, man.
you know that
That's the dark side.
earlier. I was thinking about this earlier. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that we try to avoid religion and politics, and part of the reason we try to avoid it is because we know it's a heated topic and it causes a lot of people to fight, or heated topics, and it causes a lot of people to fight. The Acolyte seems to be a heated topic that's causing people to fight.
God.
So I don't know if we're really doing ourselves any favors because we're jumping into stuff that people are fighting over anyway.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, they'll probably do the next film, the next series will be about that little rat running around, knowing Lucasfilm.
Oh God.
Oh, we
gosh.
want to do a film about that and porgs and everything else. Oh, jeez.
So
The rat's a witch.
oh
You
God.
know,
Ratatouille, you know. So.
yeah. I mean, why are you still watching it, Josh? It's gonna make you mad.
Podcast, Derek, and I need to be well prepared.
We're not doing any more Acolyte.
Because I want to see where this disaster falls now.
He wants to watch a train wreck, but you know what? In all fairness, I'm still watching it because just in case we end up talking about it on the show
All
for
right.
anything, and also I'm still getting, picking up subscribers from the videos that I'm putting out on it, and so even if I'm picking up hate, as long as I'm picking up subscribers because they want to hear what I have to say, then you know what? I'm gonna keep putting videos out. So I can't complain. So
It just seems like Josh's going to end up in the ER once the show is over.
Actually, I think we should go about trailers. I told Bobby the other day.
oh yeah. So he came up with this idea that we should do a show where we kind of talk about our favorite trailers.
Oh, that could be fun. Yeah,
that could be a fun one.
yeah,
That would be very cool.
I could be down for that.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, you guys, anything else?
Star Wars is dead. It's horrible. The Acolyte episode last night was atrocious. It was an insult to every Star Wars fan ever, and this director doesn't care about the prequels. Doesn't think they should probably exist.
Don't hold back, Josh. Make sure you get a. We want to hear what you really think.
That's right.
I try. All right, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm done now.
All right. Well, I think that does it for another episode. Josh, where can we find you on social media?
Oh, you can find me on all types of social media: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I am the family man of the Valley. I am a realtor here in Southern California. Looking to buy or sell a home? Give me a call.
All right. Derek, where are you at this week?
You can find me looking like I'm as old as the people in The Chosen over on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Oh, we're gonna need to give him like one of those one of those Pharisee outfits, put that on him. He's
I know. You gotta get the garb.
Can I just
There you
say
go.
something about my man Derek there? Every week he comes in something creative every week with his social media. He's either at the retirement home, Chosen. He's I don't know what
You gotta be funny, man.
That's right.
He's
You gotta bring the funny.
You gotta forgive Josh. He doesn't like funny.
Oh, I do like
Oh,
them.
God, clearly not when he watches The Acolyte.
Yeah.
Yesterday when I asked Derek, I said, because I was watching Weekend at Bernie's, and I'm like, God, I really don't remember Weekend at Bernie's 2. And I don't think I ever saw it. And Derek goes, meh.
I saw it once, and I've
I
never
was-
watched
yeah.
it again.
I think I literally said to you don't have to. You're not missing anything.
Yeah. So
Remember Weekend at Bernie's 1?
No, love
More
Weekend.
that.
Oh, love Weekend at Bernie's 1.
Yeah.
Watch.
Oh, yeah, of course. But it's just more of the same. An
It's
hour
where
and a
the
half
Yiddish.
with a guy who's dead walking around.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's where the Yiddish
That's
from
it.
Jonathan Silverman.
all right. Well,
Okay, Bob.
for me, you guys can find me over on YouTube. You can also find me over on Criticless and on X. I got the links for all those as well as for our two gentlemen here. Those are going to be in the description below. We'll also have timestamps for our topics. And once again, thank you everybody for joining us this
Aren't you
evening.
on-
We'll have the episode posted tomorrow. Well,
Aren't you on
when you,
Too?
what's that?
You didn't mention your Facebook.
You know, my Facebook tends to be more of a personal Facebook, so I don't have it listed there. But yeah, I'm on Facebook also. So
Feels good to be old, doesn't it?
yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, gentlemen. It was a good show tonight. Great
Yeah.
hearing your thoughts, and you guys have yourselves a good night.
Thanks, gang.
Bye.
Later.